There's an old joke that goes, the race isn't always to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, but that's the way to bet. Well, we're going to do something a little different here. For my whole life, whenever I heard the term Shemittah, the first image that comes to my mind is of a farmer. In fact, when you Google the term Shemittah, the first image you see is this farmer here. But this year, researching so many of Rabbi Goodman's brilliant pieces, I have seen so many psukim and commentary that paints a completely different image that I never considered before. In this piece, I'm going to take some of Rabbi Goodman's incredible pieces on Shemittah in our parsha and see if there isn't a bigger, more profound message to the whole concept of Shemittah hiding in there. But as a warning, most of this piece is my own theory that sprouted from Rabbi Goodman's brilliant research. If it's wrong, and that's the safest way to bet, don't blame anyone but me. But if I'm right...
Shalom Uvrach, and welcome to the weekly piece on the parsha from Torah Giants on Chumash, written by Rabbi Meir Goodman, the Rabbi Emeritus of Youngstown Rockaway. Sit back and enjoy.
Welcome to Torah Giants on Chumash. I'm Steve Geller. The concept of Shemittah is first introduced back in Shmos. 6 years you shall plant your land and gather in its yield, but in the 7th you shall let it rest and lie fallow. Rabbi Goodman quotes Rabbeinu Yaakov Meir of Lisa, the Nachlas Yaakov, with an amazing insight into what actually happened to the farmers in Israel who did not follow the laws of Shemitah. All farmers know that it is not wise to grow produce year after year without giving the land time to rest. Typically, farmers grow produce on half their land while the other half rests in a cycle. A second method was to alternate a year of seeding the entire field with a year of allowing it to rest. The Torah, however, made a marvelous promise. It told them to keep growing the produce for 6 consecutive years, and this would not harm the fields as long as we observed the 7th year as Shemitah. The sinful farmers of Eretz Yisrael did not have faith in this promise and practiced the standard method of farmers. The Shemitah year did not enter their calculations at all, so the land might rest or sometimes be worked. This practice was a total negation of faith in God's special providence for the land of Israel. Therefore, each and every year was marked by sin. Not only the Shemitah year, the defiance of the law of Shemitah was the most blatant sin of all, and therefore the exile to Babylon lasted 70 years to match those 70 years of neglecting the Shemitah. Now let's take a closer look at how the Torah itself presents the laws of Shemitah. Here in our parsha, we get a lot more information on both the details of the commandment and the repercussions for transgressing it. Speak to the children of Israel and say, when you enter the land that I give to you, the land shall observe a Shabbos of Hashem. 6 years may you sow your field, and 6 years you may prune your vineyard and gather in the yield. But in the 7th year, the land shall have a Shabbos of complete rest. A Shabbos of Hashem, you shall not sow your field or prune your vineyard. So this is where we've all been focused on the farmer. After all, he's the one to whom these instructions were meant. The farmer is told to plant and harvest his fields for 6 consecutive years, but the 7th year must remain untouched. But what happens if the farmers don't perform these commandments? Later in the Tochacha, the admonition of punishments and terrible things that will happen to us if we don't follow Hashem's commandments, I will make the land desolate so that your enemies who settle in it shall be appalled by it. And you I will scatter among the nations, and I will unsheath the sword against you. Your land shall become a desolation, and your cities a ruin. And this should be the end of the accounting of the cause and effect of either observing or ignoring Hashem's commandments. But this is where things get crazy. The Tochacha continues about Shemitah. Once we're exiled from the land, the next 2 psukim tell us this shocking piece of information. Then shall the land make up for its Shabbos years, throughout the time that it is desolate and you are in the land of your enemies. Then shall the land rest and make up for its Shabbos years. Throughout the time that it is desolate, it shall observe the rest that it did not observe in your Shabbos years while you were dwelling upon it. Usually we're given a mitzvah and the observance is on us. But here Hashem is telling us that if we don't allow the land to rest, Hashem will clear us out and He will let Eretz Yisrael catch up on the Shabbos years it missed. Like I said, I've never looked at the concept of Shemitah from any other perspective than the onus on the farmers. Rashi tells us we were in fact exiled from the land in part for not observing Hashem's laws of Shemitah. We were exiled for 70 years, which directly corresponded to the 70 years of Shemitah and Yovel that we did not keep during our 390 years in the land. Hashem is telling us that the land itself needed to keep Shabbos. But what is this connection between Eretz Yisrael and the Shabbos of Shemitah that doesn't involve the farmer? I believe the answer stems from another halacha we were given. When discussing Jews selling their land in Israel, we learned that we cannot sell our heritage of land permanently. that whatever is sold will revert back to the original owners on the Yovel, the Jubilee year. What's the reason for this? Well, the passuk tells us. The land must not be sold in perpetuity, for the land is mine, you are but strangers resident with me. Throughout the land that you hold, you must provide for the redemption of the land that you sold. It's because we don't own the land. The land is Hashem's. We are Gerim and Toshavim, strangers and residents of land belonging to Hashem. Our Shemitah obligations are therefore not about the farmer. There isn't even any consensus at all on the halachas of the punishment for a farmer not keeping the laws of Shemitah. Eretz Yisrael, by its status as Hashem's eternal property, is therefore always holy. Its status of holiness is not dependent on us making it holy. Its holiness is one that man doesn't have to create. Rather, it's a holiness that we were only commanded not to transgress. This connection between the land's Shabbos and our Shabbos is also hinted to back in Shmos, where we first saw the concept of Shemitah. Remember when we said, 6 years you shall plant your land and gather its yield, but in the 7th year you must let it rest. But check out the very next passuk. 6 days you shall work, but on the 7th day you shall cease from labor. The Torah puts the laws of our Shabbos, the 7th day, right next to the law of Shemitah. Man has his Shabbos, and Hashem's physical possession on earth, the Holy Land of Israel, has its Shabbos. While I'm way out on this limb of mine, again, forgive me, Rabbi Goodman, but could this answer another eternal question? At the very beginning of our parsha, Hashem spoke to Moshe on Har Sinai, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when you come to the land which I give you, the land shall be at rest, a Shabbos for Hashem." The universal question that's as old as the Torah itself, Ma inyan Shmita etzel Har Sinai. What is Shemitah doing being mentioned next to Har Sinai? Well, in the context of our theory here, Shemitah transcends the Torah's commandment given to the farmer. We see now that it's not about the farmer letting the land rest and reaping the reward of abundant produce. The essence of Shemitah is the holiness of the very land of Israel, as Hashem's possession, therefore required to rest as Hashem rested. Doesn't Shemitah now fit very well being mentioned next to the prominence of Har Sinai, another holy place whose holiness is separate from the commandments given there? Har Sinai isn't merely the location where the Torah was given. Har Sinai has become much, much more than that. It's where Hashem descended, where he spoke to all of us, and where he gave his Torah to man. Halachas of the Torah given to Moshe from God are actually called not halacha l'Moshe me Hashem, halachas given to Moshe from Hashem, or even halacha l'Moshe b'Sinai, the laws given to Moshe at Sinai. Either of those would seem to make more sense. Rather, it's halacha l'Moshe mi Sinai, halachas given to Moshe from Sinai. Why? Just like Eretz Yisrael, Hashem designated Har Sinai to be much more than a mountain or a location. Having been the place Hashem visited and spoke at, now enjoys the eternal physical designation of the place the Torah was given. Ma inyan Shmita etzel Har Sinai. Maybe now we know. Thank you for your patience, humoring me with all this. Please leave any comments, rebuttals, refutations, or God forbid, supporting evidence. And thank you as always for supporting this channel.